friends, welcome back to the Craft Castle. My name is Ashley and currently you are watching the series of how to master your Cricut in 10 projects. This is going to be project 2. For project number 1, we went super easy because remember, by the end of project 10, I want you to have fully mastered your Cricut for frustration-free crafting. So for project number 1, we just created a simple vinyl decal and I showed you how to put it onto your cups so it will last. For today's project, what we're going to be using is HTV or heat transfer vinyl, which is different than the sticky vinyl we used in project 1. This stuff right here, you will need an iron for. Now, if you wanted to get fancy, you could use a heat press, but an iron will do. For today's project, I'm just going to be using some scrap HTV that's laying around in my craft room. Now, I said this in video 1, but I just want to say it again. Although I love Cricut machines, I do not love Cricut branded material. So if you are looking to buy HTV, I will link in the description of this video my favorite brand of HTV. You're going to want to pick up my favorite brand. The whole point about this series is making Cricut crafts frustration-free for all beginner users. One thing that you have to know is that Cricut branded materials is not frustration-free. For me personally, I don't love the way that it cuts, I don't love the way that it weeds, and I don't love the longevity of how it wears on my garments. Those 3 things are what makes Cricut crafting frustration-free, and if those materials don't give it to you, you don't need to be using it. Also, for today's project, what you need to do is go shopping in your house. Yes, in your house. What you need to do is grab an old t-shirt, something that's blank, that's getting ready to go into the garbage anyways. You're okay with wasting this blank. Or if you have things like this, an old koozie or a makeup bag that doesn't have any decorations, bring that up to your craft area because we're about ready to decorate these and make these look really cute and personalized and fancy. Now you could go ahead and buy your blanks. However, because this is going to be your first time customizing anything with HTV, I just figured that maybe you would just pick up something around your house so you don't have to spend any extra money. Okay, just like video 1, we are going to start off on our computers doing a little bit of design work. Then we are going to go to our Cricuts and cut it out. And then I'm going to show you how to properly put your decals onto your blanks so they will last forever and ever. Amen. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. So the very first thing you want to do is open up Cricut Design Space. Then what we're going to do is come over here to New Project. So for my makeup bag, I just want to do a personalized name. So I'm going to go over here to text box and click on it. And we are going to insert a name of your choice. It does not matter what name it is. Now what we want to do is choose the font that we want to use today. So I'm going to come up here to font and I'm going to choose a font. Now, you can choose any font that you want. Remember, if it has an A, that means that this is a Cricut Access font. Now, for this video purpose, I am going to intentionally choose a very thin cursive font. So I'm going to do this DTC Cottage Style font. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click out. Now, I'm going to make this bigger so you can see what I'm doing. Now, the reason why I chose this particular thin font was to show you how we are going to thicken the font so the Cricut will want to cut it out a lot easier. Some fonts are so thin that the Cricut doesn't want to cut it out. So before we move forward, what you want to do is make sure that your name or word is spelt correctly, because once we move forward, you can't edit your text. If it is spelt correctly, what you want to do is come up over here into offset. Now, when you go into offset, you are going to see this blue line. That blue line is going to be your newest layer. If I were to apply this new layer and delete this original layer, this right here, I mean, you can read it, but it's kind of hard, right? So what I want to do, go into offset, and I'm going to take this little circle and I am just going to drag this to the left, closer to this vertical line that's right here. And you can see as I drag it over to the left, my line, my blue line is getting a little bit smaller. Now you want to keep going until you like what the blue line looks like. So because I want all the insides of my name, I don't want it to be too thick, but I definitely want it to be thicker than the original font style because I want this to be frustration-free crafting. When you have the size that you like, then what you want to do is make sure that it is welded and you want to press apply. Now you can see that I have two layers. I have this charcoal gray color and then I also have this thicker black color. What you want to do is selecting the charcoal gray color. That's going to be the thinner font of the two. You just want to delete that because what we wanted was that thicker font. Now remember what I said about making sure that spelling was correct. Because this is now an offset welded name, it is not an editable text. So you won't be able to edit the text. So if it's misspelled, you're going to have to go all the way to step 1. Now what you want to do is resize this to the size that you need. What I would suggest is taking a fabric measuring tape or a ruler and you want to make sure and map out how big you want your HTV decal to be for your blank. My particular makeup bag, I want this to be 5 inches wide. So I'm going to make sure that this right here at the very top is locked. And I'm going to change this width over to 5 and press return. Now for my koozie, I want to do something more besides just a name. So I'm going to drag my name over here for right now. And I'm going to go into images. Now, if you're not paying for Cricut access, you could come over here and click this button right here for free images and you would only get 3,000 images. However, remember when you first open up your Cricut, you are given 30 days of free access, which that gives you the full library of what Cricut Access offers, which is almost 1 million different images. Okay, so I found a couple clip arts that I actually think would fit perfectly for my koozie. And I love this Beaches, Booze, and Besties one. So I'm just going to press this plus sign and then press view. So for this project, we are going to keep it simple and we are going to do a single color project. This right here, you can tell has 1, 2, 3, 4 different colors. If we came over here to the carrot and opened it up, you would see that it has 4 different colors. To keep it real simple and easy, what I want to do is make this only 1 color. So I am going to right click on this image and I'm going to go to combine and then weld. Now what I want to do is resize this decal to fit onto the koozie that I'm going to be using. So for the height of my koozie, I need it to be no bigger than 3.5 inches. So making sure that this right here is locked, I want to change my height over to 3.5 inches and press return. Now what I want to do is change over the color of my decals to fit the color of HTV that I'm going to be using. So for my koozie, I want this to be a glitter blue HTV. So what I'm going to do is come over here into this yellow swatch right here, and I'm going to turn this over to blue and then click out of that. Then what I'm going to do is for my name, I actually want this to be like a champagne gold HTV color. So clicking the name, I'm going to come up here to this black swatch and I'm going to choose a different color than the blue because I want these to be on 2 separate mats because I'm going to be using 2 separate colors. So I'm just going to choose the closest color to the champagne gold that I have and then click out of that. When you are using HTV or heat transfer vinyl, what you always want to make sure is mirror your images, which means that it won't be legible to you when you go to cut this. So right now, the way that it sits, I can read this. These are legible words to me, right? Since we are done with the design process, what you want to do is select everything that you're going to be using with HTV. So both of my clip arts are going to be used with HTV. I'm going to come up here into flip and I'm going to flip this horizontal. Now our images, you can't read them, right? That's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted to do. Now what you want to do is save your project and then press make. So now our project is going to be on 2 separate mats. The first mat is going to be our champagne HTV Our second mat is going to be our glitter blue HTV. Now remember, our clip arts that we're going to be using for HTV should not be legible to us. If you miss the step of flipping it horizontally, what you could do is also click this right here that says mirror. If I were to click it now, it's going to reverse it again to where it would be legible for us. You don't want to do that because we've already done that step in the design process. But if you forgot to do that, make sure and click on the mirror now so your lettering is mirrored to you. You don't want to be able to read your clip arts. Okay, now let's go over to the Cricuts and set up our machine. Okay, you want to make sure that your Cricut is turned on. And then what you want to do is taking your Cricut mat, and then whatever color mat 1 says on your Cricut, that is what you are going to put onto your mat. Now this does change for everyone, so you just want to make sure that you are looking at your computer screen. My computer screen says that mat 1 is going to be this champagne color that I'm going to be using. Now when it comes to HTV, there is always 2 sides. There is going to be a side that has the material, and then there's going to be this clear carrier sheet. It does not matter what type of HTV you're using, it will always look the same. You want to put the carrier sheet, so the shiny part, the carrier sheet, you want to put that down onto your Cricut mat. So this right here is my material. This right here is the carrier sheet. I'm going to put that down onto my Cricut mat. When you put your material on your mat, you want to make sure that it's in the top left corner. And then we are just going to put our material onto our Cricut mat. You want to make sure that there isn't a whole lot of air bubbles on your material. Then what we're going to do is insert this into our Cricut. So we are going to put this into our machine underneath these white little things. Now for this HTV is just a standard thickness HTV. What you want to do is put this over into the iron-on setting onto your Cricut. So I'm going to put this little dot on my dial right onto the dot for the iron-on setting. Then what I'm going to do is going over to my computer, I'm going to press continue, and my Cricut is going to get connected to my computer. Okay, then when it's connected, you want to press that blinking C button. Okay, just like in project 1, what you want to make sure and do is check to make sure that your material cut properly. So what I'm going to do is taking my weeding tool pick, and I am going to try and weed out the stuff I don't want. So I'm just going to take my corner and I'm going to peel it off. What you should be left with on your carrier sheet is the HTV decal that you do want. It is weeding perfect. My settings were good. So what that means to me is that I can eject my material. You discovered that this did not cut good. Instead of injecting your material, you want to press the C button. The machine will then suck your mat back up, redoing the cut. When your cut is finished, then you want to check again to see that if it cut good. If it still didn't cut good, keep pressing the C button until it does cut good. When it's finally cut good, then you just want to eject your material. Now what you want to do is taking your material, we are going to turn our mat upside down. So this is the bottom portion of our mat. What you want to do is roll your mat and hold on to your material, and you want to just roll the mat away from your material, leaving your material like this. It's nice and flat and there's no residue on your mat. Now what you want to do is you go to mat 2. For me, mat 2 is going to be that glittery blue color. Again, remember what I said, every piece of HTV that you use has a material side and a transfer side. The plastic sheet, that needs to go down onto your mat. So this right here is the shiny side. The shiny side needs to go onto my Cricut mat in the top left corner. Now I'm going to insert this into my Cricut. Doing the same thing, we're going to put it underneath my white things. Now for mat 1, I used regular HTV, and I like the iron-on setting, which is the circle on your dial meets right in the center of iron-on. but I am using 8 glitter HTV for my second mat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump my dial up 1. So it is in between the light cardstock and iron-on mode. There is like another little dot right here. I want it in between those two. On my computer screen, you can see that it says iron-on plus. That's exactly what I wanted. Now that I have that set up, all I'm going to do is press the blinking C button. While this cuts, what I'm going to do is just take some scissors and I'm going to cut away my excess HTV that I'm not using, because this right here you can use and save for later. What you should be left with is your cut HTV, and we can just keep weeding out the HTV that you do not want. Now you can see that I still have the insides of my letters. Taking your weeding tool pick, you just want to weed out the insides of your letters. And this is what your finished weeded out decal should look like. It's all weeded out. If I turn this around, you're going to be able to read my name and everything is weeded out, and it looks really good. Okay, now that that's done cutting, again, the same process as what we did with the very first mat is you want to take your weeding tool pick and we want to make sure that this is going to weed out good, just like the first material. My settings are correct because my decal that I want to keep is staying on my transfer sheet. So I'm just going to press the eject button. Sliding our machine out to the side because we don't need it anymore. Then what I'm going to do is roll my mat over, and I'm going to roll my mat away from my material. There's no residue on my mat left, and my material still stays nice and flat. Now what I'm going to do is trim off my excess material because this is still usable later. You want to weed out the stuff you do not want. Okay, and this is what you're going to be left with. Something that looks like that, and oh my goodness, it looks so cute. Okay, now what you want to do is grab the blanks that you're going to be using today. If you have a heat press, you want to go ahead and plug that in. I'm going to be using my small little handheld one because this is perfect for the small little projects. If you do not have a heat press, all you need is your iron, and you want to put it on the cotton setting on your iron. Now I do have to tell you, if you're using an iron, chances are you will not get a nice even press like a heat press would give you. Irons aren't designed to give you nice even heat. They're designed to distribute the heat so it doesn't ruin your garments. So picking up a small little heat press, if you plan on doing more HTV, is definitely something that you need to look into. Now, I wish I can tell you as an experienced Cricut crafter that there would be like a one-size-fits-all on heat presses. There's not. I have so many heat presses. This little guy I only use on small little projects like this. Then I obviously have the big one that I use for like t-shirts and blankets. There's also heat presses for your mugs and for tumblers. There's just so many heat presses that you can get for HTV. So while your heat press is heating up or your iron, what you want to do is grab a silicone sheet, or if you have like thin cotton rag, you could use that too. And what we want to do is put our HTV decals onto the blanks. So this right here is that champagne one. I am going to put this about the bottom right corner of my makeup bag. You want to make sure that you like the position of your HTV. If you don't like it, you can just pick it up and maneuver it. Now, the second we do apply some heat onto this, it's going to be stuck there forever. So you want to make sure that you like the placement of your HTV decal. Doing the same thing with the koozie, you just want to make sure and put this on your koozie. We're going to start with the easiest one first, which is going to be the flat makeup bag. I am going to put my silicone sheet over the top of my decal and my makeup bag. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply heat and pressure to my HTV decal. Now, all HTV has different press settings for time and temp. What I would suggest doing is doing a quick little press. I'm going to roll this over, and I am going to test to see if my vinyl decal is stuck onto my makeup bag. You can tell that the portion of my E is wanting to come up and not stuck onto my makeup bag. So I am going to cover this back up and I'm going to press it again. Okay, when I pressed it again, I'm going to do the same thing. We are going to lift this up. Now you can see that my carrier sheet is coming up. My vinyl decal, my HTV decal, is staying on my makeup bag. That's exactly what you wanted. See how my transfer tape is naked and everything is stuck on my makeup bag? That's exactly what you wanted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to recover my makeup bag and that HTV decal with my silicone sheet or your cotton towel. What you want to do is repress this. The reason why we need to repress this is when you took off that transfer tape, what you were doing is essentially pulling away the HTV from your makeup bag. So in order to make sure that everything is nice and stuck on your makeup bag, you want to repress it to re-glue onto your makeup bag. Then this is what your final project is going to look like. It should be one with your makeup bag or whatever it is that you used. No wrinkles. It doesn't look like it's lifting. It looks really good. Now, my particular HTV that I used, they suggest to wait 24 hours before washing this. So if you did your HTV on a t-shirt and you wear that t-shirt today, just know you need to wait 24 hours before washing this HTV to ensure that the glue is nice and stuck on your garment, to making sure it does not peel away. In my particular decal, there isn't anything that's lifting. However, if you see on your vinyl decal that you do have your HTV is curling away or still not fully stuck on your garment, then just repress this. Keep doing the same thing until it's fully stuck onto your blank. Doing the same thing with the koozie. You want to make sure that it's nice and stuck on there. Now, glitter HTV is a little bit more of a pain to work with. Needs a little bit more pressure and a little bit more time to press. So you want to make sure that your vinyl decal, your HTV decal is covered. And we're going to press this and doing the same thing we've done before. And there we go. So for project one, we just did a simple vinyl sticker onto a cup. And for project two, we did a simple HTV decal on blanks that we had at home. How are you feeling about the Cricut? Are you having so much fun learning your new machine? So for project three, we're gonna get a little bit more difficult, but I'm gonna tell you right now that you've mastered project one and project two, project three is going to feel so easy. I will see you over in project three.